Why is it important to keep the end in mind when you're starting a business? First, let me say hello. My name is Edison Titus with the Titus Law Firm. We're based in Houston, Texas, and we handle cases all over the great state of Texas, Lone Star State. Today, I'm going to talk a bit about nothing hardcore legal, right? This is for anybody, but primarily for people who are interested in starting a business or they just started a business. And it's important to have the right framework, right? And part of the right framework is figuring out what you want at the end of the rainbow. I think a lot of folks, they start a business and they do a bunch of stuff, but they don't know what they hope to achieve in starting this business, right? Sometimes it turns out well, sometimes not so much, but how it turns out is actually secondary to how you intend for it to turn out. I've got a couple of things here that I wrote down about why it matters and what it will help you with. The first thing is your mindset. And the reason why this kind of permeates everything that we're about to talk about, but mindset is important because if you don't have the right mindset, or rather, if you have a particular end in mind, you need to have the right mindset to achieve that. So a real simple way of looking at it is if you are starting a business and you intend for it to be, maybe you're starting a dry cleaning business and it's just something for you to do. You don't want a bunch of locations, just you and your spouse and maybe your kids, if you have any. And you just want to run your business, make a living, and that's it. You need a different mindset than if you want to turn this into the dry cleaning business's greatest 800-pound gorilla, right? You want multiple locations in every city all across America. You want the top 50 cities in America to be saturated with your dry cleaning company. You want to have initial public offerings. You want to have large warehouses that are cleaning the dry cleaning for all of the area or regional items on a daily basis. If you have large ambitions, the mindset that you need to have in order to make that sort of a dry cleaning business work is completely different than you just have your neighborhood shop, one location, and that's it. In the same vein, time investment, right? The life that you want to live is going to look different based off of this company that you're going to start and the time that you have to put in. Are you putting in normal amount of time that you would if you had a job working for somebody else? Inherently, with starting a business, you're going to work more, but you're going to work that much more if you want a large business, right? If you want a scalable business or a business that you are going to scale, right? Next would be monetary investment. So unless you're Daddy Warbucks, right? You have cash just laying around, you're probably going to need some help. Are you going to sell bits and pieces of your company for equity? Are you going to take out debt? Either way, if you keep the end in mind, it's going to dictate the monetary requirements that you're going to have to come up with. And those monetary requirements usually come in the form of an obligation to either someone who's buying a piece of your company. Now you have investors and you have obligations to them, or you're getting debt and you have obligations to carry that debt. Either way, it's going to impact you. The end will impact you today. Next is the entity structure. This is probably the low man on the totem pole, right? But once you figure out what your end goal is, it's best to create the company, its entity structure, in the manner that best suits the end goal, right? Again, if you want an IPO of dry cleaning businesses, of a dry cleaning business that's going to take the nation by storm, then you should probably do a C Corp right off the bat, right? And maybe you have it taxed as a C Corp instead of doing an S Corp. I don't know. But what I do know is if you start as an LLC or a limited partnership, chances are you're going to have to convert later on down the line. So why not just set it up the way that you intend to end from day one? Next would be organizational procedure and standard operating procedures generally, right? If you have a small mom and pop business that you're doing with your spouse and maybe your kids, y'all are going to have quite a bit of institutional knowledge in your head. And that's okay because you're probably 90% of the workforce. You care because it's directly tied to your own personal livelihood. And there's not a whole lot that you need to reduce to paper. You can just make it happen. If something needs doing, you do it. You figure it out and you do it. And when that thing pops up again, you have the requisite knowledge. Now, I will say that makes things hellish for succession because one day you're not going to run it anymore. You're going to give it away to your family, your kids, as it were, or you're going to sell it to somebody, or maybe you just pass away. Unfortunately, it happens, right? But the thing here is that it's okay if all you want to do is run that business while you're alive for it just to run out of you and your people's heads, right? But if you want to create a big business that scales, everything needs to be put on paper. Everything needs to be itemized. Everything needs to be explained, right? If you don't do that, it cannot scale. I don't care what type of business it is, right? And so keeping that in mind, again, the end will inform you on what you need to do today. As you figure out problems today, you can put it on paper today and make a procedure today. So that way you're more well suited to scale tomorrow. And then last but not least, tying it all together is lifestyle, right? The lifestyle of a person who's creating the next unicorn company that's got billions of dollars and millions of clients or customers, the lifestyle that it takes to build that is completely different than a mom and pop business. And I think that that's widely underestimated and people don't give that enough thought. They say, oh, I'm going to start a business. I'm going to make a bunch of money. Oh, do you really have it in you to do that? Have you taken stock of the lifestyle that you're going to have in order to make that happen? Now, of course, there's a lot of modifiers here, right? Maybe you're a very well-connected person or you have years of experience into the world of business that you're going into. Or maybe you have loads of cash sitting around so you can hire a lot of help, competent help off the bat. All of these things will change what your lifestyle looks like. But generally speaking, the bigger, badder a company, the more money that you're going after, the more value you want to provide people, the more your lifestyle in the beginning is going to be very constrained, conservative, reserved, and hyper focused on that business, right? The more laid back, mom and pop, hey, I'm just doing this to earn a buck and make a living, and that's it. I've made myself a job. It's going to be inherently less hard, right? So tying it all together, you want to keep the end in mind. It will inform very many decisions. And hey, you might even find out that the timing is not right, or you don't want to do it at all. And all of these things are fine. As an aside, there's this pervasive theme out there that you must be an entrepreneur, right? Yeah, you don't have to be an entrepreneur. It's actually, for all intents and purposes, it's a pretty sucky value proposition. And the failure rate is extremely high and it's hard on your mental. So it's perfectly fine not being an entrepreneur. But for those of us who are going to do it anyways, you want to have your mind right. And to have your mind right and to know what you're about to get into, you have to keep the end in mind. I think that's about it. I would like for y'all to leave comments. If you have questions or thoughts of your own, I'd be happy to hear them. I'd be happy to respond to some of them. As you might be able to tell, I'm pretty passionate about this stuff. I like to say I'm a very good entrepreneur who happens to be an even better attorney, right? And so that's my mission. That's my value proposition, to provide excellent legal services and to be the value add in the form of I understand business and real estate at a very granular level because I participate in it and I have participated in it for years. Um, Anyways, this is not a sales pitch. I wanted to talk to you about what I talked to you about, and I did. Follow, subscribe, all that sort of good stuff. And I'll see you next time.